All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down this absolutely incredible story. It's about survival, it's about physics, and it's about a single decision that, it just balanced on a knife's edge, all while hanging 400 feet above a massive abyss. 400 feet. I mean, just picture that for a second. That's what stood between 12 people and, well, a jagged, totally unforgiving glacier waiting below. To put that in perspective, we're talking about something taller than a 30-story building. But on this particular day, 400 feet, that wasn't just a number, it wasn't just about height. No, it was everything. It was the literal distance between living and dying. And the only thing bridging that gap was this. Just one single frame cable. A secondary safety cable? Yeah, but think about it. It's just a bunch of steel wires and they're already groaning. I mean, literally groaning under stress they were never, ever built to take. And you can guess what happens next. It's starting to fail. So there you have it. That's the setup. A single, fragile thread and 12 human lives hanging in the balance. The big question is, how on earth did they end up here? Okay, so our story kicks off high up in the Alps. The setting? A cable car called the Iron Cloud. And this thing was supposed to be a marvel of engineering, right? Like a glass and steel diamond, built to be the absolute pinnacle of safety. But on this one morning, it turned from a marvel into a trap. So, who's inside? 12 strangers. But we're going to focus on two people who are really at the heart of this. First, you've got Marcus. He's a veteran mountain guide, the kind of guy who just gets the physics of this crazy world better than anyone. Then there's Sarah, a young woman traveling all by herself. And of course, they had absolutely no clue that their lives were about to be tied together forever. And then, the sound. It didn't come from inside the car with them. No, this came from way up, from the tower above them. It was this sharp, loud report, like a cannon going off, completely shattering the quiet, peaceful morning. And man, it all happened in a flash. In that first second, you hear the crack of the main cable snapping. By the second, they're just falling, plummeting. For 3 whole seconds, which must have felt like an eternity, you just hear the screeching of the emergency brakes, metal on metal, before a secondary safety clamp finally catches. But the impact is insane. It drops them another 60 feet, and the whole cabin just jerks to this violent stop, hanging there at a crazy 45-degree angle. Okay, so let's put ourselves inside that tilted box for a second. What's the immediate aftermath like? Well, the air is thick with the smell of burnt oil and ozone, from fried electronics. And panic. Panic is starting to bubble up, threatening to finish the job that the fall started. And right here, in the middle of all that chaos, this is where you see true leadership. It was Marcus's voice. And it wasn't a suggestion, it was a command, It just sliced right through the panic, because he knew something they were all just starting to figure out. Their survival, right now, came down to this terrifyingly delicate balance of weight. So here's the nuts and bolts of the problem, the actual engineering of it. That safety clamp, it was only designed to hold what's called a static load, basically a straight downward pull. Simple enough. But now, with the cabin tilted like that, the force is all wrong. It's shearing, it's uneven, and it's yanking on that clamp in a way it was just never, ever meant to handle. And this, right here, just lays it all out perfectly. The clamp was designed for the situation on the left, right? Stable, symmetrical, a full, solid grip. But the reality they were living was on the right, a constantly shifting, asymmetrical force that was just slowly, minute by minute, causing that clamp to lose its grip on that already fraying cable. Every tiny movement was a life or death roll of the dice. So this brings us to a choice that is, well, it's pretty much impossible. See, Marcus knew there was one last failsafe, a third safety bolt, way out on the cabin's exterior support arm. The thing is, it hadn't engaged automatically like it was supposed to. So someone had to get outside and lock it by hand. But this plan, it came with a terrifying catch. It's a brutal paradox. The very act of trying to save everyone could be the exact thing that kills them all. I mean, think about it. The weight of just one person climbing out onto that tilted edge, it could be the final straw, the last ounce of stress that sends the whole car and everyone in it plummeting. So Marcus, the expert, the guy with all the skills for this job, he does this quiet, just agonizing calculation in his head. He knows his own weight is too much. He gets out there, and it's over. Game over. His eyes scan the cabin, and they land on Sarah. She's the lightest person there. She was the only option they had. And this is where we get to the most harrowing part of the whole story. Marcus is talking her through it, and Sarah pushes open that roof hatch. And she's just hit with this roaring mountain wind and the dizzying, terrifying reality of just how high up they really are. So this was the mission. Simple but terrifying. Just 3 steps. 1. Climb onto that slick, frosted roof. 2. Reach the jammed safety bolt on the support arm. And 3. Use a multi-tool to force that bolt into place. I mean, each step alone is a nightmare of strength and nerve, all happening on a tilted, icy surface with nothing below you but 400 feet of empty air. The first obstacle? Frost. The roof wasn't just metal, it was coated in this slick, treacherous layer of frost. Almost zero grip. The second obstacle? Pressure. That bolt was just jammed solid, twisted from the accident. Sarah's hands are numb from the cold, and she's trying to use this little multi-tool Marcus gave her, putting every ounce of her body weight against it. And while she's struggling with the bolt, a new sound starts. A horrifying sound. From below them, they can all hear it. This distinct ping of individual steel strands on the cable snapping, one by one. It was a countdown clock. She throws her weight against it once. Nothing. Twice. Nothing. And then on the third try, with Marcus screaming now from inside, it gives. The bolt just slams home. The sound is like a hammer hitting an anvil, and it just echoes across the whole valley. And the groaning of the cabin, it stops. Just like that, the cabin was stable. Now, it still took another 4 hours for rescue teams to get there, but they were safe. But this story doesn't end there on the mountain. It actually jumps forward a few years to a meeting between these 2 people who were at the very center of it all. When Sarah looks back on that day, she never, ever saw herself as a hero. In her mind, what she did wasn't some act of bravery. She was just reacting, holding on to Marcus's instructions, his trust. But Marcus, he saw it differently. He offered her a whole new definition, and it's a really powerful one. He told her that her action wasn't about not being afraid. No, it was something way simpler and way more profound. It was just the refusal to let go. And that really brings us full circle, back to our final thought. This whole nightmare started because of a question of physical weight, right? A few extra ounces that could send a cable car into the abyss. But in the end, it was solved by a totally different kind of weight. So the story really makes you ask, what does courage actually weigh?